Yo, what's up? It's someone that's no one, and I got a brief story here. This is mostly a personal story, a story I didn't write for the channel at first, but a story I journaled out. Basically what I'm saying here, this isn't a crazy banger of a story, but it's still gonna provide some insights and a perspective on things. But anyways, the other night I went to this bonfire where I drank some alcohol. A bunch of homies were at this bonfire and it was a solid time, and nothing too eventful went down. I mainly want to note the effects of the alcohol I got when I was there. Now, I had been telling the homie Marcel I hadn't really been in a drinking mood, and I most likely wouldn't drink much if the opportunity came up. And most of the time, this is just my personal preference. I'd rather be off something else that won't toxify my body so harshly. I feel like most depressant pills are ideal options, but not always accessible or convenient like alcohol. But at this point really, I would just prefer a little ketamine. But I didn't want to go out of my way this day to try and get something. Plus, I just wanted to see how the alcohol would be for me at this point, because I hadn't had some in like 4 months or something. But before we actually continue this story, you may want to check out this smoke sesh, Just Talking and Smoking number 2. I talk about my 7-gram mushroom trip and also recent prescription stimulant usage I had with Vyvanse. I made that video a few hours before I went into this bonfire, and I had been up for like 35 hours at this point. When it was time to go to this bonfire, it was pretty much 40 hours, so a bit sleep deprived. I wasn't in a normal state by any means going into this, being up and stimulated. But anyways, let's just start this story off right after I end that smoke sesh, because why not? So after that sesh, I remember going on my phone and texting a bit, just because I felt like it. Thing is, while doing this, you can say I felt the first sign of a come down. I had expected to be way down by this point in time, and to be kind of exhausted, but that never really came. I was for like a few brief moments, physically that is, but for the most part, I was alright. I knew if I focused on sleeping, I probably could have, but I tried my best to stay up for this bonfire. About an hour after the smoke sesh, I took a shower, and the music was incredible. Just a lot of euphoria was going on. I was waiting on my girlfriend to get back so we can head over there. Then we would pick up the homie Ashton, and then see a bunch of other homies too. And Ashton's a bro who will be in past stories, but we actually did interview him about his Xanax abuse in a substance exploiting episode. But fast forward like another couple hours or so, and we go pick up Ashton. I felt perfectly fine driving, not tired at all. Though I wouldn't be driving back later, since I would end up drinking. We stopped at the liquor store, then proceeded to head to this bonfire. I remember Ashton talking about not wanting to drink a lot this night, but he would end up drinking anyways. We end up at the bonfire just an hour after it starts. Now, I don't know if I named this homie ever before, but he's been in a good handful of stories, but I'm not sure of any I posted yet. We'll call this dude Anthony. I known Anthony ever since high school through Marcel, and we've been cool ever since. It was his bonfire. But we pull up and there's a good handful of people chilling. The fire pretty much just got started, and man, I gotta say right away, this was one of the windiest days we've had in a while. So this fire and smoke would end up blowing in all kinds of directions all stupid. We would pretty much have to stay mobile this night to avoid getting clouded with smoke and fumes. But there's some other homies there we start to chat it up with, which I won't bring up everyone here, but just a few past names. But Anthony offered me a beer right away, which I wasn't eager to start drinking by any means. I remember Ashton and I were talking about addiction and the opiate crisis with Anthony's dad for a bit. Then some other people showed up and the party begins to ensue. Now for my first drink, it would actually be in the form of a game, which Anthony wanted Ashton and I to try this out, which I honestly can't remember the name of it. Basically, you had to bounce these ping pong balls into these cups while it rotates around in a circle, and whoever gets overlapped basically has to take a drink from the middle. And once it's all done at the end, the loser has to drink what's called a bitch cup, which is filled to the top. And there's some more specific rules, but that's the basic gist of it. And guess what? I would end up losing this damn game my first time ever playing it. So I was set to drink a decent amount this night. It was a fun game, no doubt. Ashton ended up sucking ass, but it was good fun and laughter. Marcel and his girl ended up pulling up, then Michael and his girl ended up pulling up with another homie. And Michael and Marcel have been in a ton of past stories now. Then that man Leo popped up, which he was just in the last DXM story. And I haven't seen Leo in like a good year now, just because of how busy we've been. And in general at this point, I hadn't hung out or seen a lot of these people in such a while, so it was a great time seeing everyone. And once more homies like that started coming in, that's when I started to have some drinks for real. I would only have like 4 drinks this night, so nothing big, but big enough to cause a strong noticeable effect. Again, I hadn't drank in probably over a year at this time. But after having lost that game and downing that big cup, I felt a small buzz which inspired me to check out the cooler. Tons of drinks, no Coronas or anything I wanted, so I settled for some sweet drinks as per usual. I don't remember exactly, but I know I had a Jack Daniels and I think a Seagram or some shit like that. I don't think exactly that, but it was some shit like that, something I normally wouldn't drink. Now at some point during this, Ashton did something pretty wild. Basically he sat on this chair that we put in the fireplace. While it was on fire, that is. I'll actually probably show the picture with his face blurred out, but this guy just said fuck it, we gotta make a moment. They were burning this old chair and he said, let's just take a damn seat. Thankfully he ended up fine and not burned to a crisp. But Ashton came back to the table and we ran another round of that game, which this time I was next to Marcel and got his ass to lose at the end. Anyways, it's all good fun and I start to feel slightly drunk after about 45 minutes or an hour of drinking. We talked about all kinds of shit this night, some real ass shit to be honest, played some beer pong, smoked some blunts. It was a good ass time. It wasn't anything crazy or wild like that, but it was nice to see everyone and get buzzed off alcohol like that again. I did make sure to drink a good deal of water beforehand and also during, so I didn't get dehydrated. But to describe the alcohol effects, it reminded me of how alcohol was for me back in the day, which I remember thinking during my intoxication, man, I love this shit because of its effects on the GABA at times. Everything else about it, it can be pretty garbage. What it can be is the taste and the culture you can come to enjoy. I feel like this itself can be a big driving factor at times. The socialization aspect, the peer pressure, FOMO bullshit. Like yeah, we're getting all drunk together and wasted together. Shots, let's keep down in beers, chug, chug. You know, all that bullshit and hype at times. And I feel like the alcohol's effects can feed into this mindset and behavior much more at times, getting into this bubbly state with everyone, but not always. I a lot of the time tend to notice the bad physical effects, and how garbage that can feel, and then the abuse that can come with, acute and long term. I talked about it before, but I have friends impacted by it too. Some who went through shit, and others still going through shit. Alcohol can be a very toxic substance in ways beyond its direct physical effects. For me though, I tend to drink chasing a feeling that may never come, and it's probably why I leave it for when I'm out with close friends. I feel like you need a good environment, a good culture, and a balance for it. Like my girl and I tried drinking by ourselves and turning up, but we just felt like garbage doing it, not fun one bit. Which I personally do feel like it's a protect and a direct from the universe, where only occasionally in the right setting will I return to alcohol, if at all. But I go around talking to a ton of people. Michael's friend gave me a blinker off his pen, which just sent me even more. At one point we were dancing and in commotion, and I told Marcel how late I had been up because of the Vyvanse I took. And he told me he was off the Vyvanse too, that he had taken them in the morning. So I knew this dude was feeling it, so was his girl. Marcel and Leo would end up hitting this graveyard and staying up all night after this, I guess. But at some point I slowed down and started saying peace out, because on top of this, I did have work the next morning. I said my goodbyes and the car ride back was decent, and later back at the crib, it was pretty much lights out right away after some food. But yeah, I just wanted to share this quick story and just know how alcohol felt for me this night, and basically how I treat it still. It was good in a way, just to come back for a good one time with everyone. It was just super nice to find that joy I had back when I first drank. I still had my dislikes about it, mainly with holidays in society and the devastating impacts it has for some people. But I can see how it can be fair at times. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed this. If you want to see more stories like this, let me know and we can do them. But it's been someone that's someone. Subscribe, like the video, and peace out.